Hello everybody and welcome back for some weekly VR news. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. So today we have plenty of good news to go over because there's lots of VR game updates. That includes a bunch of cool games releasing this week, plenty of new stuff coming down later on in the year, lots of surprise announcements like games we didn't expect just pretty much coming out of nowhere, and then some really awesome games that are already out there have announced some additional updates. So if you're looking for game information, this is going to be a great episode. There's also a little sprinkling of hardware stuff in there, like maybe a new Pico headset on the way, the Pico 4S, which looks to be a refresh of the current generation, not a whole new change. So we'll get into all of that today. There are, of course, links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but before we jump in, this video is brought to you by VR Rock, makers of prescription lens inserts for all of your favorite VR headsets. Quest 3 inserts are now available for purchase, and I'm extremely happy to announce that they've significantly dropped their pricing on this product. They magnetically connect for easy insertion and removal, so if you wear eyeglasses and struggle to fit them inside the VR headset, or you're concerned about scratching your lenses, go check out VR Rock down in the description, and don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 10% off and to help support my channel. Okay, so let's start this video off like normal with the check-in, and that's what exactly have I been up to in the VR world. Well, I'm currently finishing up Max Mustard so I can get a review out for the release day. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, make sure to turn on notifications. Additionally, I'm working on a huge video for next month. It's going to take me a very long time to put this one together. So there's an absolutely huge video dropping in April. And finally, I'm going to be at PAX East this weekend. So if you guys are there, come say hi. I only know of a few people in the VR community that'll be there and a few developers, but overall, it's always a good time. So if you guys have any questions about PAX, let me know. I will definitely do a follow-up video on that if I see anything cool related to VR. All right, so let's get into this week's new releases. Okay, so first up, pretty much coming out of nowhere, is the free VR update for Tin Hearts. Tin Hearts is an immersive, narrative, puzzle-style adventure game, which will have you directing tin soldiers in a toy-filled world, similar to the old-school puzzle game Lemmings. This title previously released on flat screen, and while there's only 39 reviews on Steam, it's almost 99% positive. The VR version is a free update, so you can feel free to play this on flat or in VR, and the title is also currently 25% off on Steam during their spring sale. So if you're looking for a cute new puzzle title, go check out Tin Hearts. Now, another release that feels like it came out of nowhere is the Twilight Zone VR for PlayStation VR 2. Now, I previously played through this title on the Quest, and my overall opinion was mixed, but I know the new PlayStation VR 2 version corrects two of my biggest issues. The graphics have been significantly improved, adding to the title's overall immersion. Additionally, these separate storylines are no longer locked in a specific order, and you can now play them any way you like. The game originally started off with some horror-themed hide-and-seek style gameplay, which definitely wasn't for everyone, and they never got around to experiencing the multiple different gameplay modes. So now you can experience it any way you like, and if you're a fan of both horror titles and the intriguing storylines that the Twilight Zone used to offer up, well then this game should be right for you. But if you prefer a good old-fashioned platformer, Max Mustard is also releasing this week. I'll have a review up in a few days, so make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on. And the main question I'll be answering is, does Max stand up to the other great VR platformers, including Moss and Astrobot? The developers of this game also made Richie's Plank Experience, and they're self-describing Max Mustard as a next-gen VR platformer, so soon we'll find out if that's true or not. And finally, for the chore simulator fans out there, we're getting Lawn Mowing Sim. Previously, I asked my community what the appeal on this style of game is, because I simply just don't get it and see this as an actual chore. But as it was explained to me, these are great games to just chill out and relax. So if that's the type of experience you enjoy, I'm definitely not going to judge, and here's one more option for you guys to jump into. Now that right there was just this week's new releases, and I still have 8 more game stories to go over, so let's not waste any time, and start off with another surprise announcement, Tropico. Are you guys ready to become El Presidente? Or at least jump into a whole new VR city management game? This is a full VR version of the 2011 Tropico 4 title, which not only includes the game's original 20-mission campaign, but also all of the DLCs that were released over time. So if you enjoyed something like Little Cities but wanted more of a challenge, or just a twist on the formula that Cities VR has to offer, Tropico is most likely the perfect game for you. The release date's also right around the corner because this one's coming on March 28th. And speaking of release dates, the co-op mech shooter Big Shots is also coming pretty soon on April 18th. Big Shots either has you going in solo or with a friend, battling hordes of alien creatures. The graphics definitely lean into a cartoony style, which I personally think always works really well in VR. Now this game is actually a combination of roguelite and wave shooter, and I have to say at this point, I would much rather a campaign, but I'm still pretty excited to jump into this game. Now my excitement diminishes a little bit with the announcement of Slenderman VR. Now I streamed the original Slenderman with my wife roughly 10 years ago, but that was back when I actually enjoyed horror games a lot more, and they weren't in VR. Slenderman making his virtual reality debut is going to be absolutely horrific, and VR horror fans are getting this game on the absolute perfect day as it releases in September on Friday the 13th. So if you enjoy running around in the dark being chased by a lanky figure, Slenderman definitely has you covered. Now if you're looking for something wacky, Leeroy was recently announced. I really have no idea what's going on in this trailer or what the actual gameplay is all about, but it does look like they're trying to cover every single internet meme from the past 20 years. Everything from Star Wars Kid to Leeroy Jenkins appears to be part of this game. I really have no idea what to expect overall, I just hope the humor lands. Now the announcement trailer for Anarchitects is another video that doesn't give us much to go on. It's being described as a mix of Roadblocks meets Scary's mod, where you could create a large variety of different game types. I'm all for a cool open sandbox style game, as VR could definitely use more of those, but I also really want to see some actual footage of this title, especially since it's right around the corner releasing in April. And the final game announcement before we move on to new game updates is for Starship Home, a new Quest 3 mixed reality experience. This is a narrative-driven storyline where mixed reality is used to turn your home environment into a spaceship, and you'll need to befriend and assist alien creatures you come across. I've been waiting for something like this that truly shows off how cool mixed reality can be, and I really hope Starship Home delivers and gives us a brand new exciting experience. Now for those of you not looking to buy any new games right now, we have huge updates coming into Underdogs and also Stride Faith. The latest development roadmap for Underdogs shows off some really good stuff is coming soon. This includes a whole sandbox mode where you get to experiment with new builds, and it will also include new game events and a major balance update. The corruption update will allow you to customize your runs and will also add new enemy variants and items. Next would be the aggressor update, which is a refresh to the overall arsenal. There's new weapons including a chainsaw, new enemies, and additional risk versus reward gameplay mechanics. Finally, there'll be an update to the overall storyline with a little twist, and the developers really want to give us some multiplayer, but it's definitely not guaranteed. Now, if you're yet to play Underdogs, it's absolutely fantastic, already one of my favorite roguelikes, and it's just going to get better over time. And our final game-related story of today is Stride Faith's getting a major free DLC called the Concrete Jungle. This includes a whole new open area where the main storyline continues, new gadgets to utilize including a wingsuit, and finally 25 new quests and enemy outpost towers to take down. This is on the heels of their really cool mixed reality update, and I'm glad to see that Joyway is continuing to support this title. Okay, so that was all of today's gaming stories, and I told you guys it was a lot. Many of these games pretty much came out of nowhere. It's a great time to be a VR gamer because we're not getting the same genres over and over again. As you saw today, there's a lot of different types of games covered. I love seeing that. It should increase the mainstream appeal. Developers are supporting their titles more and more. Great time to be a VR gamer. But let's move into some hardware news, starting with the rumored Pico 4S. Now, even though we saw major staff cuts from Pico, and it looks like they're changing directions, no longer going up directly against the Quest, instead attempting to go toe-to-toe against the Apple Vision Pro. But at the same time, if the rumors are true, it looks like the Pico 4 is getting some updates. Supposedly, the controller design is leaked online, and they're basically just following suit with Meta, removing the tracking ring. I also wouldn't be surprised if they put an XR2 Gen 2 in there and just priced it slightly under the Quest 3. Now, I actually really liked my Pico 4, but the main issue is they don't have any first-party IPs like Meta does. So they're trailing in terms of software, and the headset becomes hard to recommend unless you absolutely hate Meta or you just want to use it for PCVR. Additionally, their change of direction and no longer wanting to focus low-end makes me even more skeptical about recommending a new Pico headset because it looks like their future is uncertain. But who knows, Pico could surprise us, and this might end up being a headset that's very easy to recommend, if there is in fact actually a new headset. Now, in semi-good news, Meta has issued a voluntary recall of the early Quest 3 Elite straps with battery pack that were suffering from charging issues. This is why they paused sales of that item back in December, and it appears the issue has been rectified on newer units. So if you do have one of those early models but are not experiencing issues, you still have the option of getting a replacement free of charge. Emails are being sent out to people who bought the headset from Meta during this specific time period. And today's final news topic is a PlayStation VR2 one, but I will keep it brief. I know you guys tend not to like these stories that much, but for me, this is a bit of vindication. There are now some unofficial sales numbers out there, and they basically just line up with everything I've been talking about. That's one of the comments I commonly see. You throw numbers out there, but you don't have proof. Well, there is a site dedicated to researching the market. They are paywalled, but their information basically corroborates what I've been saying. And let's say less than 2 million units sold. There's also a big Reddit post discussing this. I will link to that if you guys want more information. A developer who I'm not going to mention because I just don't want to throw them into the mix, but they actually commented on the thread and said they believe total PlayStation VR2 sales is around 1.3, 1.4 million, which is the number I've thrown out there in the past also. So basically, I just want to tell you guys, even though a lot of times I'm saying, listen, I talk to developers, I get this information. If I present the information, I'm like 99% confident. And I will always put those caveats here. Like, I could definitely say between 1 and 2 million. I know that's a massive difference, but overall, those aren't huge numbers. What we saw with the PlayStation VR 2 is exactly what I discussed. It did pretty decent at launch. You know, it was outselling the original PlayStation VR. It was competing with the Quest, even though it's much more expensive and requires a PlayStation 5. So kudos there. But then there was no real push. The holiday sales were terrible. That's when they started getting destroyed by the competition. I know some people also like to say, well, Meta's not their real competition. PCVR is their competition. But PCVR isn't really a thing. Like, I know that sounds weird, but PCVR has just been stuck forever, and it's not like where the market's going, unfortunately. I know some people don't want to believe that or don't feel that way, but it's just true. You got to face it. So the PlayStation VR 2 numbers unofficially are out there. I always say if the numbers were great, Sony would just be, screaming them. They would just be like, look how good we did. Look how good our numbers are. Whenever there's information that could be used to look pretty bad, then you combine that with the fact that now they're focusing to make the headset work with PCVR. And additionally, they're not really pushing the PlayStation VR 2. They're not advertising. They're not doing first-party IPs. Yeah, it all goes hand in hand with things don't look fantastic for this headset. Again, we're still in the year of wait and see. I think this is the make and break it year. We'll see what happens. And that was today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.